Long ago, powerful kingdoms and grand cities flourished in what we call the Bronze Age. This era, from about 3000 to 1200 BC, saw people mixing copper and tin to create bronze, a metal that transformed tools, weapons, and daily life. Bronze technology fueled the rise of mighty civilizations around the Mediterranean. These societies built monumental temples, palaces, and developed armies with chariots and bronze swords. Artists crafted beautiful pottery and jewelry, while scribes invented writing to record trade, food, and royal messages. The Bronze Age was a vibrant, interconnected world, with kingdoms trading and communicating across the sea. But around 1200 BC, disaster struck. In just a few decades, many great cities were destroyed and empires vanished. Trade and communication networks collapsed, plunging the region into chaos. Historians call this the Late Bronze Age collapse, a mysterious, catastrophic event. It wasn't just one city or kingdom. Nearly all the major powers fell at once. Imagine if today's global powers all crumbled within a single generation. That's the scale of this collapse. For centuries, the reasons behind this sudden downfall remained a mystery. Today, we'll explore the lost world of the Bronze Age, its great civilizations, and the forces that brought it to a violent end. What caused this interconnected world to unravel so quickly? Let's journey back and uncover the story of the Bronze Age collapse. The Bronze Age world was home to legendary civilizations. In Greece, the Mycenaeans built hilltop fortresses like Mycenae, famed in Homer's tales of the Trojan War. They were skilled warriors, traders, and artists, their pottery found across the Mediterranean. The Hittite Empire, in modern Turkey, was a military powerhouse, famous for chariots and its fortified capital, Hattusa. The Hittites controlled vital trade routes and signed one of history's first peace treaties with Egypt. Egypt's new kingdom, ruled by pharaohs like Ramesses II, was rich, powerful, and influential, controlling lands along the Nile and beyond. Egypt's grain fed many, and its culture shaped the region. Ugarit, a bustling port in Syria, was a hub for trade and innovation, even creating one of the first alphabets. Ships from Cyprus, Egypt, and Greece crowded its harbor, exchanging goods and ideas. These kingdoms, Mycenae, Hatti, Egypt, Ugarit, were the pillars of a complex, interconnected world. Their wealth and power seemed unshakable, yet beneath the surface their fates were tightly linked. When crisis struck, none would be spared. The stage was set for a dramatic fall. The Bronze Age was the world's first age of international diplomacy and trade. Kings called each other brother, exchanging gifts and arranging royal marriages to secure alliances. Letters on clay tablets reveal a web of diplomacy and negotiation. Trade was the lifeblood of this world. Ships carried copper from Cyprus, tin from distant lands, and grain from Egypt. Mycenaeans sent olive oil and pottery. In return, they received gold, ivory, and luxury goods. Ugarit thrived as a trading hub, storing goods from every corner of the region. The elite across kingdoms enjoyed similar lifestyles, thanks to this shared economy. But this interconnectedness was a double-edged sword. Each kingdom depended on others for vital resources, grain, metals, and more. If one link in the chain broke, the effects rippled everywhere. The system's strength was also its greatest vulnerability. When trouble began in one region, it could quickly spread, like dominoes falling. The prosperity of the Bronze Age rested on fragile foundations. As we'll see, when crisis hit, the entire network was at risk. The world's first global age was also its first global collapse. Around 1200 BC, the climate in the eastern Mediterranean changed dramatically. Scientific evidence shows a long, severe drought struck the region. For societies built on farming, this was a disaster. Crops failed year after year, rivers dried up, and famine spread. Letters from desperate kings begged neighbors for grain to stave off starvation. Large empires like the Hittites and Mycenaeans, with huge urban populations, were hit hardest. Their power depended on surplus grain. When it vanished, so did their stability. Governments struggled to feed people and pay armies. The drought weakened these kingdoms from within, fueling unrest and anger. People blamed their rulers for their suffering, setting the stage for rebellion. The climate crisis was beyond anyone's control, but its effects were devastating. The first shock to the system had arrived, and it would make every other problem worse. The great empires were now vulnerable, their foundations crumbling. The drought was the silent force that began the unraveling of the Bronze Age world. As famine weakened the kingdoms, a new threat emerged: the Sea Peoples. Egyptian records describe these mysterious invaders arriving by ship, attacking cities along the Mediterranean coast. They came with families, seeking new homes after being displaced by drought and hardship. Their origins remain a mystery. Some may have come from Greece, Anatolia, or even farther west. The Sea Peoples burned cities like Ugarit to the ground and toppled the Hittite Empire. Mycenaean palaces were destroyed, possibly by these same invaders. Only Egypt under Ramesses III managed to repel them, but at great cost. The Sea Peoples' attacks were a wave of violence that shattered the region. Their arrival was both a symptom and a cause of the collapse. The Old World was under siege from within and without. The Sea Peoples marked a turning point in the Bronze Age disaster. Natural disasters added to the chaos. Earthquakes rocked the eastern Mediterranean. Archaeology shows many cities, from Mycenae to Troy, suffered destruction likely caused by quakes. Already weakened by famine and invasion, these cities were left defenseless. Earthquakes destroyed walls and palaces, making them easy targets for attackers. Trade and communication broke down even further. Meanwhile, suffering populations turned against their rulers. Rebellions and civil wars erupted as people blamed kings for their misery. Some palaces may have been burned by their own people, not just foreign invaders. The collapse was as much about internal breakdown as external threats. The social contract between rulers and the ruled was shattered. Each disaster made the next one worse, creating a spiral of crisis. The Bronze Age world was unraveling from every direction. Why did so many civilizations fall at once? The answer: systems collapse. Like a perfect storm, multiple disasters struck together: drought, invasion, earthquakes, and rebellion. The interconnectedness that once brought prosperity now spread crisis everywhere. When Egypt's grain ran out, trade networks broke, and kingdoms like the Hittites starved. The domino effect was unstoppable. Each problem made the next worse. The Sea Peoples destroyed cities and cut off vital trade routes. Without metals, kingdoms couldn't make weapons to defend themselves. The palaces controlled everything: food, trade, administration. When they fell, the entire system collapsed with them. There was no backup plan, no way to adapt quickly. The collapse was swift and total because society depended on a fragile central authority. Once the center was gone, everything fell apart. Systems collapse teaches us that complexity can be a weakness if it lacks resilience. The Bronze Age ended not from a single cause, but from a cascade of interconnected disasters. The world's first global civilization fell to its own vulnerabilities. The collapse of the Bronze Age plunged the region into a dark age. Cities and palaces were abandoned, and people scattered to small villages. Life became harder, populations shrank, and survival was a daily struggle. Writing disappeared in places like Greece. The art of record-keeping was lost. Fine art and luxury goods vanished, replaced by simple utilitarian crafts. Long-distance trade stopped, and communities became isolated. Powerful kings and organized states were gone. Local survival was all that mattered. The international world of the Bronze Age was replaced by fragmented, poor societies. Progress made over centuries vanished in a few generations. This dark age lasted for centuries, with slow, painful recovery. Eventually, new societies emerged, city-states like Athens and Sparta in Greece. Writing returned, now with a new alphabet from the Phoenicians. New art and ideas appeared, but the memory of the Bronze Age survived only in legend. The stories of Troy and heroes lived on, echoing a lost world. The collapse was both an end and a beginning. The story of the Bronze Age collapse holds lessons for us now. We live in a globalized world, just as they did. Our economies and systems are deeply connected. This brings prosperity, but also vulnerability. The same problems, climate change, migration, political instability, still threaten us. The collapse shows how fragile complex systems can be when hit by multiple crises. A shock in one part of the world can quickly spread everywhere. The Bronze Age teaches the importance of resilience, being able to survive and recover from disaster. Their world failed because it depended on a single fragile system. We must build diverse, adaptable systems and protect our environment. No civilization is invincible. History is full of rise and fall. By learning from the past, we can recognize warning signs and work together for a more stable future. The Bronze Age collapse is a warning and a call to prepare. Our story is still being written.